So just to do a quick introduction, my name is Karson Rippstein. I work with Redmond Redmond Agriculture, and if you wonder why I'm going to be talking about soil and animals, I'll tell you as we go, okay? So I'm actually from Utah, central Utah, down where the Redmond mine is, and my family has been running cows there since the mid-1800s. So I like to call myself a rancher, and the reason I do that is because I'm west of the Mississippi, and that's what we call ourselves. So I live in very arid environment. We average 5 to 9 inches of rainfall, depending on where we're at, of precipitation. So, and then I farm in some heavy clay, so when someone tells me they have rougher conditions than me, we'll try to have a competition. So, but just to do a quick introduction of my background, like I said, my family's had a ranch since the mid-1800s, but I did not get to be a part of inheriting the ranch, right? It goes down, not everyone can take their piece. So I'm probably a 6th generation rancher, but I really am consider myself a 1st generation rancher because me and my dad have started from scratch. Our own ranch, we raise like 120 mother cows, not enough that I can make a full living. Me and my dad and brother can make a living on it, but enough that I can do what I'm really passionate about, and then I work for Redmond, which is something else I love. My background in agriculture, though, is I actually, in the past, I've worked in agronomy, if you know what that is, and some of you might throw tomatoes at me or something. An agronomy company is the ones that would go around with the big spray rigs and spray fertilizer and chemicals, and that's what I did before I worked for Redmond for a while, actually. I've repented and changed, I promise. The other thing I did is I worked in the feed industry, so I've got some background in feed stuffs and minerals and all that. And now what I do for Redmond is I help people who have anywhere from one animal all the way up to thousands of mother cows, and then people who have a little tiny garden all the way up to farming thousands of acres. And my point of it is to help people to just simply understand there's just simple steps to getting healthy animals and healthy soil. So I know we'll probably have all levels of learning here, so feel free to ask questions. The other thing is, in my heart, I thoroughly just love cows, okay? It is what I love. So when I'm talking about livestock, I'm going to say cows. And when I say cows, I also mean sheep and goats and other livestock, but I love cows. So I'm going to probably say cows. That's just because that's what's on my brain all the time, all right? I'm going to kind of keep this at a base level, but I think if you guys, like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I love to answer questions. That's where good things will happen. So I think the first principle, and we're going to be talking about animals and soil, but the first principle we need to understand is what nature does, what works in nature. I think to be good cattle people, to be good livestock managers, to be good grass farmers, to be good gardeners, we need to understand nature a little bit. One thing that I've learned, and some of my first times experiencing this was raising bottle calves. I used to raise some bottle calves. My first cow was a bottle calf, and I raised it on milk replacer. And if you compare a calf that's raised on milk replacer that's formulated by a man, and then you compare that to a calf that's raised on mother's milk, which one does better? Mother's milk, right? And if you ask a nutritionist, he tries to put all the exact same amino acids, all the exact same nature things, as all the exact same things that are in mother's milk, but you just cannot replace what nature does. You cannot replace the mother's milk. Another example of that is when I was working at the fertilizer company, I borrowed my friend's manure spreader and I spread manure on half of my pasture. And I ran out of manure, so then I thought, okay, well, I'll just go buy urea. It's nitrogen, so I put urea on the other half of the pasture. And halfway through the growing season, I went out there, and man, the place where I put manure, it was dark green, it was rich, there was variety coming. I went out to the place where I put urea, and it was tall. It was really tall, but it was not rich. It wasn't diverse. There wasn't the bugs that were happening in the manure. And I wasn't smart enough at the time. I just thought, I wonder what happened here. And then later on, my dad was the one who pointed out, look, Carson, you idiot. Look, this is when you're using something that natural, that God made, compared to something that man made. Look at the huge difference. So that's kind of the basis of what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk a lot about like things that happen in nature. So think of those kind of concepts. Nature likes whole food products. You can tell how different you feel when you have a steak compared to when you eat something that is processed and made by man, right? You can just feel that way. That is just how things work. When we're using whole foods that are either for us or for our soil or for our animals, it just goes a lot better. Okay, so you'll ask what Redmond's role in this is, and I'm going to talk about Redmond products because I work for Redmond, but we are not the only natural whole products that's available, right? You guys know it. You can go, there's things like kelp, there's other things that are great products that you can use. So our two products that we base everything off of in Redmond is our sea salt that has 60 plus trace minerals and is unrefined, okay? The other thing is our volcanic clay, which we call conditioner. I'm going to tell you a little bit about salt, because usually, and the fun thing talking to a crowd like this is most of you understand these concepts, but most of the time when we say salt, it's known as a bad thing, right? You go to the doctor, you have high blood pressure, he says, hey, you got to stop eating your salt. But then you're going to die, and then what do they put in your veins? Salt water. So that should tell you something. But it's not salt that's bad. It's refined white salt that's bad for you. If you eat unrefined sea salt, you're going to be a lot better off. And then we also, like I said, have our natural volcanic clay, which we call conditioner. And I'll bring those back in a little later. So we've been, and I'm going to start on the soil side of things. And we've been using Redmond products for a long time. We started using it. Most of you know us from Real Salt, but before we even had Real Salt, we were mining salt for farmers. In 1958, Redmond started mining salt for farmers. So my grandpa would actually, when I told him I was going to go work at Redmond, he's like, oh yeah, I used to drive my dump truck and I'd go get big rocks of salt from Redmond and feed them to my cows. But part of that is we started selling across the nation, and a group of people, the Amish people, really liked our products because they were natural and they worked, okay? And so because they were working in their cows, they thought, well, we'll put some of this on our soil. And there was a couple things that happened. One thing is that their feed value went up, and the other thing that we saw was that the bacteria came up in their soil, the beneficial bacteria, the protozoa, okay? So most of the time, if you're frustrated with your soil, you'll say, well, it's clay, or it's sand, or it's this or that, and that's why I'm frustrated with it. The real reason is you're actually going to be frustrated with your soil is because it's dead, and there's nothing going on in it. The bacteria and the protozoa, that's doing all the heavy lifting. So we've done some research on our products, and when we put them on the soil, this is some studies that we've done in Wisconsin where we put it on soil, and we saw a big jump in the type of bacteria and the life in the soil. Okay, the soil came to life. And then if you compared it where they were putting fertilizer, and you see all the zeros, and you think, yeah, it's because it's a Redmond presentation, right? They're going to put the zeros on. And we thought the same thing. But when we actually talked to the lab that does the testing of the bacteria, they said it's more common than not that you'll have zeros showing up on the life in the soil, okay? Another cool study that shows this is one that actually University of Illinois did, where they showed that only that when you put fertilizer on corn, only 21% of the fertilizer made it to the grain, and that 67% came from naturally occurring nitrogen in the soil. So instead of worrying about only feeding our plants, we need to be worried about making our soil alive and fixing our soil. When our soil's fixed and our soil's alive, guess what happens? Then we don't have to be worrying about bugs, because bugs don't like healthy plants. Bugs like the sick plants, right? When I worked for a fertilizer company and I was worried about people's alfalfa weevil getting in the alfalfa, guess what it went after? The weakest, sickest alfalfa got eaten first. So if you have healthy soil, that makes healthy plants, okay? And if you have healthy plants, you have to water less, you have less pests, you have all the problems that are on your mind when you came here thinking about your garden or your pasture. Those all get taken care of with healthy soil. So one other thing I mentioned that we did is we've tested feed quality as we put our products on the soil. TDN is just total digestible nutrients or relative feed value. So we've seen huge boosts in these things. When we put it on the soil, I can guarantee two things. The microbial life will wake up, and the feed quality, or instead of just the word feed quality, the plant quality increases, which means the soil's getting healthier. The other thing is we've also seen our products increased organic matter, and we're not putting any organic matter. It's just what happens when the bugs are actually working. So here is our soil program, and it can be very simple. Sometimes you go to these things and you get done and you're like, I have no clue what I'm supposed to take. I learned a lot of information, but I have no clue what I should do when I get home. Hopefully I can make it so you'll actually know what to do when you get home. So the first step is you need to take a soil test just to kind of see what's going on in your soil. We have a soil test. It's very simple. It tests like 17, I believe, nutrients, and it only tests the nutrients bioavailability to the plant. So not just everything in the soil, it's only what's bioavailable. Okay, and it takes 3 to 8 days. It gives you really easy to understand results. And then when you get the results, it tells you how to fix it. But a lot of people, when they get their soil test results back, they start panicking. They're like, oh my goodness, I'm low in phosphorus, and I'm low in nitrogen, and I'm low in zinc, and I'm low in this and this and this. And then they try to fix every little thing with a fertilizer. Is that how nature does stuff? No, that is not how nature does stuff. You take care of making your soil healthy and alive, and it takes care of it. But the one thing that why you need to test your soil is you need to find out if there's any really bad limiting factors. Usually people will test it and they'll find out they're low in nitrogen. So if you have a garden or something, most of the time when I see these results, the lowest thing on the thing is nitrogen. Means you need to put more manure, compost, cover crops, things like that. So you're going to use that, and you're going to take care of the outliers, okay? If there's something that is extremely low, then you take care of it, and nature will actually kind of start fixing the rest as you take care of it, okay? And then we'll help you with that. We'll tell you some natural ways. If you're low in nitrogen, we'll tell you some natural ways to amend nitrogen. If you're low in zinc or phosphorus or iron, we can help you with natural ways to do that. And then we have 3 products, and I'll tell you which one should be used. So Mineralite Soil Foundation, the little green one on that side. I'm sorry, I was looking at my screen. You guys can't see it. But the Mineral Soil Foundation, when you should be using that is when your soil is pretty dang healthy and you just think you need a little spark of life for the microbial life and for the plant quality. Okay? And the difference in that and the blue bag, which is Build, which is the next step, is you should be using Build if you have your own compost and manure. Like I said, nitrogen's the most lacking thing in our soil usually, so you got to be putting nitrogen on with either compost, manure, or something like that. And then Build is going to be, as you can read, it's our seed minerals, humates, volcanic conditioner, and other volcanic minerals. And you use that if you just have soil that needs some help, and you can be putting your own manure or compost or things like that. But we do know that not everyone has their own ability to get compost or manure, and not everyone has a good clean source they can go buy it from. So Mineralite Grow is when we put Build and we add chicken manure to it that's been left out, so you can use it. It's safe on your garden. So you use that as your supplement. Okay? Things that you'll see happen when you start using these products. sometimes you'll see huge bumps in yield or huge, bigger tomatoes, things like that. But usually the things that you'll see is, first, my plants are going to be healthier, and second, the life in the soil's coming back. So, like I said, it's not a fertilizer. Fertilizers work completely different. Fertilizers, you're just putting on usually three nutrients, and it gives it a big boost of growth, and you're not really fixing your soil, you're just feeding the plant, okay? This is feeding the soil to fix your plants. Okay. Any questions on soil? We have a second. Does anyone have questions on soil?
Does it matter what kind of manure, if cattle versus horse?
No. What they eat, no. Just if you are using cattle manure or horse manure, you remember you need to let it sit out. You don't want to just put green hot manure on it.
So what they eat has
No. You can actually, the cool thing about our soil test kit, if you're like, okay, I've been supplementing, I made a compost or I've been using manure, and it's not really fixing my problem, you can the soil test kit will actually test manure or compost and tell you, so you can say, oh man, I'm still lacking nitrogen, I need to fix something in my nitrogen. That one right here. Well, it's because it was just a drop in increase because the soil's healthier at that point already, right? So at some point you stop seeing the major gains and it just starts like incrementally increasing. Does that make sense? Yes.
We had a soil test sent off to North Carolina, and they did it for us free to fill out.
Yeah.
And it came back that the pH was 6% or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we were wanting to grow, what was that? Lavender.
Okay.
In our pasture and stuff like that. And they said that we have to, according to their chart, the lavender would be at 7%. Well, we went to talk to our county supplier, or farm aid, whatever, and they said that you have to put
Lime?
lime.
Yeah.
Is that okay, or is there something natural?
Lime is natural. It's limestone. It can be very harsh, so I recommend just doing it incrementally. But yeah, there's not a lot of other ways to raise your pH to become more basic than lime. Yes, no problem. That's a great question. That's a great question. So what you can do, you can spread it different ways. If you're like me and I just don't ever have time, I grab it by my hand and kind of fling it out. You can use a Scott spreader and be more precise. But yeah, you don't need to incorporate it in the soil. You just need to have it watered in at some point. Yep, so it tells you on the bags, like the Mineralite Grow 8-pound bag does 640 square feet. It tells you on the bags how many square feet, and you kind of just do the math there a little bit. But it's natural, so if you put a little extra, a little less, it's going to be fine. Yeah. You want it to contact with the soil best you can. So like what you could do is before you put the straw on for the year, but just put some around it some way. Yeah.
Okay, if we put the lime out there on top of the soil, do I need to go out there with a disc plow and
Oh, no.
let it sit?
So let the water it in, yep. Okay, any other questions about soil? What was that? It is, yeah. So we have just distributors and stores in every county or every state. And you just have to find a good dealer. So to do that, you go on redmondagriculture.com and you go to store locator, put your zip code in. If you don't have one pop up, send us a chat or call us and we can help you find someone. But you can also buy all our products. Like these products are going to be online, so they're 25 and they're 25 and 8 pounds, so we can ship them pretty inexpensively to you. Any other garden questions or soil questions? Those are great. Anyways, we actually we'll have some of this stuff here, and so you won't have to pay shipping or anything, but we do have some here. Was that clear? Was everyone able to understand when I should use it and why I should use it? Another question that gets asked, what time of year should I put it on? And also, what time of year should I take a soil test, okay? There'll be a lot of people who'll say you only take a soil test in the fall or the spring, and that kind of depends on what kind of soil test kit you're doing, okay? But I recommend a soil test gets taken when you're thinking about it, because guess what? If you're like me, you're going to probably say, I'll do it this fall, and then you don't do it this fall. I've been going to take a soil test of my wife's new raised garden bed for 6 months. So do it the day that you buy it. Go out and take the soil test kit. So don't think, oh yeah, I'll remember this Redmond guy talked to me about the soil test. I'll do it next fall when it's a little better. No, take the test now because you'll actually have results and can start doing stuff while you're thinking about it. Did you have a question? Oh, no, sorry. Okay. And then what time of year should I apply this to my soil, okay? Best time is always the spring, but I have the same principle. Now is better than never, because I know all you guys here, and I know what you're going to do. You're going to say, I'll do it next year in the spring, and you won't do it. And that's only because that's how I work. The cool thing is, though, when you start working with nature, so like I said, I've been a farmer, and so I'm a first generation doing a lot of things starting. So I rent some of the worst farm ground there is in the county. I mean, rock hard. And so, like I said, we get no rain, so we have a pivot. You guys know what a center pivot is? That's how we irrigate our crops. And we were raising some a grain hay to make some hay, some barley hay. And it was the first year I farmed this piece, and I would water it every day, and it still was droughting out. I brought the extension agent up, and he's like, yeah, you're having a drought issue. And I'm like, I'm putting ½ inch of water on every day. Why am I having a drought issue? It's because in such heavy clay, it was hard panned. I couldn't get it in the soil. So I've been implementing things like using this, using nature, using cover crops. And from year 1 to I think I'm on year 4, this is my 4th year. I got my crops off at 3rd year last year. I went from, on this one piece that was 30 acres, I went from getting 30 bales to 180 bales of hay. And the reason is because I use things that work with nature like this. When I put it on the soil, nature actually knew what to do with it, okay? They've been fertilizing this place for the whole time they farmed it, for 20-something years. And in 3 years, I was able to say, so instead, and I'm not telling you that you're going to 5 times or whatever that is, your yield, because I was coming from my soil was so dang awful. If I would have had a knife, I could barely get it in the soil. But now in year 4, I can stick my finger in this far, and that's a big accomplishment for us, okay? So start using nature in your practices. Use things that are natural like this, and you will see huge increases, okay? It's really, really cool. You'll see bugs go away. You'll see a lot of things start happening in your soil. I went out to a farm, and how many of you guys are from Tennessee? Some of you. How many of you have clay soil in Tennessee? Okay, that's a surprise, huh? I went out to a farm here in Tennessee, and I went to her garden, and I could like stick my arm this far into the soil, okay? It was beautiful soil. I went outside her garden, and it was hard clay. I'm like, what the heck have you been doing? And she's just been using compost, manure, and natural products, and that's how she did it. It took 5 years or something, but just know that no matter what your soil is, it can go to the next step. But you can't take it backwards by only trying to feed your plants. You got to fix your soil, okay? And if you guys have any questions, I'll also be at our booth if you want. Because one thing I've learned, I speak in front of a lot of farmers and gardeners, and that no one has problems on their own farm. But if you have a problem and your neighbor has a problem, you want to talk to me about your neighbor's garden problem, just let me know, okay? We can talk about your neighbor's garden problem. Okay. Next, I'm going to show you our animal products. This is just a sampling of what we have. I mostly show this to show off that really good model, okay? It's a great model up there. It's my cute little boy, Quinn. So, oh, shoot. Why? Oh, did that just do that up there, too? I don't know why that did that. Kids, yep. Okay, let's see if I'm smart enough to do that. Well, it says it's the end of the slideshow. Oh, it's not, but okay, I don't know why that says that's the end. I must have clicked on the wrong slideshow. Oh, well. Okay. Oh. Is that better? That one? Okay, we might not have. I'm not very smart. Oh. Okay, we'll just stick with there we go. No, it's not going to work. Okay. We'll just go off it, okay? I don't need it. So animals are very similar to like the soil. A lot of times, we're just going to deal with it, okay? I'm not very tech savvy. I keep pressing the button that ends it. So just like our soil, animals respond to natural products. You know, if you wanted to be healthy and you knew you were short in some minerals, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll just go take a pill and think that we're going to take a pill of a mineral and that's going to absolutely make us healthy, right? So we continue to eat cheeseburgers and all that kind of stuff. But what would really fix our problem is if we started eating whole foods that our body knew what the heck to do with it. So our salt, if you're wondering what makes our salt different and our clay, which I'll talk about, is it's unrefined, and second, it's got 60 plus minerals in it, okay? If you go to the store and you buy a bag of mineral for your cows, it's probably got like 6 to 8 minerals in it. When I went to school and I was learning about nutrition, I took some nutrition courses, and I was actually working at Redmond at the time, so I'm sure my teacher hated me, but my professor. But we were learning about minerals, and we learned about like 12 minerals. And so I actually messaged him after class. I said, why didn't we learn about any other minerals? And he said, well, we only understand what 12 minerals do in cattle. So those are the 12 minerals that you'll usually see on a bag of cattle mineral or sheep mineral or goat mineral, okay? And the other thing that we do on our cattle or sheep or goat mineral is the way we decide how much to feed. Have you guys ever wondered how we decide how much we should put in a bag? Has anyone ever thought of that? Okay, I'll tell you how. Now, even though none of you cared, I will tell you how. Okay, the way they tell that is there's a book. It's called the NRC book. They have one for goats, they have one for sheep, they have one for cows, they have one for dairy cows, they have one for horses. And what they do is they do tests and they tell you what's acceptable range for an animal, okay? So an animal needs this much calcium before it becomes deficient, and it needs this much calcium before it becomes toxic, something like that. They come up with a range, okay? And so when you go to the store, what happens is you're buying a mineral, and you're usually formulated to be 100% of what an animal's need is, okay? Meaning that you give no credence to the grass that they're eating or the forage or the hay. So you're overfeeding your animal mineral, and you're only feeding 12 instead of all 60 minerals, okay? The cool thing about Redmond is we didn't have a nutritionist with a PhD do our formulation of our base product, which is our salt. God made our base product, which is our salt, which is really cool. It's a whole food product. One of the cool things, and just to kind of tell you that, one of the ways you can track things, when they're tracking calves and how healthy they are, they'll say, well, you go to the coffee shop, the guy will say, well, my cows weaned 650-pound calves, and my cows weaned 700-pound calves, okay? That's kind of a sign on how well the calves are doing sometimes. We'll not go all the way into that. But one of the cool studies we did, it was at Montana State University, and they did a study where they cut this group of cows in half and they left them in the same pasture, but they had a tag on their ear that it would either let them have access to white salt or it let them have access to Redmond salt, okay? And when we did the study, we thought we'd see some cool results in amino acid complex stuff, all this. What we weren't expecting to see is that the cows and calves that had access to Redmond salt gained 21 extra pounds in 84 days. On the same pasture as the ones having white salt. Do you know why that was? It's because their body knew what to do with that. It did not know what to do with the byproduct of white salt. Okay? So at the base of all of our products is this salt that's got 60 plus minerals in it. And then we have different levels of it. One of those is we put garlic in it. Do any of you guys know why we put garlic in our salt? Fly control, right? It's a natural fly control. So you can go to Costco and you can get a powder garlic and put it in with your stuff, and it will work to an extent, but it's not as potent. We use one, it's an extract garlic that's about 12 times the potency of garlic powder. So you don't have to feed them 4 pounds of it to get them to work. You can just put it in the salt. So what you usually see is you see at least a 50% reduction in flies, and I'm going to say that twice, 50% reduction. That means there's going to sometimes be some more flies. Sometimes people say, it's not working, I still have flies. I'm like, well, yeah, you got 50% less. But the thing about it is it's not going to kill a fly. It's not a pesticide. It's not going to hurt the dung beetles in your soil. All it's doing is repelling flies. Okay, so you can use that. That's a great product to use. So my recommendation is if you have good green grass, okay, like right now, you live in Tennessee and you have good green grass in the summer, your mineral supplement should be 10 fine with garlic, okay? And that will be meeting your needs unless you know of something that's completely deficient in your soil. If you do know of something or you have marginal grass, we have a product called Selenium 90, and it's got selenium, it's got 6 other added minerals on top of our mineral salt, which makes it a great mineral. So if you have something like you have your sheep, goats, and cows are all in the same pasture, that's a great mineral to put in there, okay? And then we also have one of each for each of the major species of livestock. So if you are feeding dry hay or you have poor quality forage, we have beef mineral, which is for cow. We get really creative with our names at Redmond. We have beef mineral, we have sheep mineral, and we have goat mineral, okay? And if you need help on which species each of those are for, just let me know, okay? And that works really, really well. If you want to even go to the next level of a success, we have a product called Conditioner. You see in the corner, that's the volcanic clay. The thing about it is it binds toxins. So if you're feeding any grains, they usually have toxins on it. It binds toxins. It buffers, so it's like taking Tums for an acidic stomach. And then it also is mineral rich. If you mix, let's say you're going to put 10 pounds of salt out, and then you only need to put like 4 pounds of the clay out. You only want to put that was a bad example. Okay, if you buy 2 25-pound bags of salt, you put 1 bag of conditioner with it and mix it together. So 2-to-1 ratio. And that is like the secret sauce to having healthy animals, okay? And if you're wondering, how do I feed it? There's a couple different ways. Most people are in this situation are going to be free choicing their animals, okay? Does everyone know what free choicing means? That means you put it out in a dish or a container that they can't knock over, and animals naturally crave salt, so they'll go eat it, okay? Does that make sense? So the other way is if you're feeding like grain, like you have a milk cow or a milk goat, or you're feeding them little treats, you can get it comes with a little scoop, and you can put the scoop on the recommended rate on top of it, okay? So if you're in a pasture, you're not going to go scoop a scoop on the cow's tongue, so you feed it free choice, and it will take care of itself, okay? It'll naturally know how to do that. So I'm going to go over the steps again, how to decide. Good green grass, you feed our salt, just our plain salt or our salt with garlic. You need a little extra more, like you're selenium deficient or you're copper deficient or something, you feed our Selenium 90 product. And then if you are feeding poor quality forage or you're feeding dry hay, you either feed beef, goat, or sheep mineral, okay? Any questions on animal stuff? That is a great question. She asked, does the garlic affect or taint the milk taste? And the answer is no, okay? We feed it on thousands of dairies across the United States. And then Redmond, we actually have our own raw milk dairy in Utah. We have 100 and something cows, and our cows get Redmond salt with garlic year-round, and our customers never have a taint. If you're feeding a garlic powder, like you went to Costco and bought garlic powder, I would assume you'd have a taint. But because it's an extract, you don't have the milk taint. That was a great question, by the way. Any other questions? Or am I that great of a teacher? No other questions? I'm good, huh? Ah, there we go. So how much time do I have? Some time left, don't I? Yeah.
Do you add the salt every year to the grass? Like
Yeah. So the mineralite, yes. Yeah, that's a great question. So you saw after 4 years there was a little less result, but there was still great results. You're going to see your best jumps the first couple of years using it. But if you're doing something like that was done on a hay crop, if you're going to do something on your vegetable garden, which you want the nutrients to be up, I would do it once a year, every year. Okay. Or if you live somewhere warm and lush and green, unlike where I live, and you're getting 2 crops of like, let's say you're getting a fall, your cool season vegetables and your warm season vegetables, do it with each season of growth. But you would want to do it every year. If you forgot a year or something happened, it's not going to be traumatic though, but you'll see the best results if you're using it every year.
you said the selenium 90 you can give to sheep.
Yeah. Yes. So great question. It's going to have some copper in it, okay? Just so everyone knows, if your sheep has a certain amount sheep are a little more sensitive to copper, okay? But at 300 parts per million, they'll never eat enough copper that it'll cause them problems. Yep, you can free choice that. Yep. The USDA has a sheep research station in Idaho that uses our selenium salt on their sheep year round. So yeah, you'll be fine feeding selenium 90 to sheep, goats, cows. The only one you do not want to feed to sheep is goat mineral, okay? Yes. Yep.
Is there a problem adding a little dry molasses in just to get them to eat just a little more?
No, he asks, is there a problem with adding dry molasses in? And there's not. Nope. So, interesting thing, most feed companies add a lot of dry molasses because their mineral's so disgusting, animals won't eat it. Ours, it's kind of cool. If you put our salt up to something else, they'll eat it. They'll eat it more because it's better tasting. If you've tried it yourself, then you know that it's better tasting than white salt.
I just want to make sure
They're getting some. Yep. You can add some dried molasses. There's no problem with any type of enticer. Yep. Especially if you're going to put the conditioner in, you probably an enticer would make a big difference. Yeah.
the conditioner in, they don't like it as well as they do the salt by itself.
Yeah, so he said with the conditioner in, they don't like it as much as the salt by themselves. And it's true because conditioner's clay, that's not something, like you crave salt, all of you guys. None of you are craving clay right now. So yeah, clay, you need to entice them to eat it. Just like, I won't go there, but yes. Yep, yeah, you can do that. Any other these are great.
If you've got a 7-acre plot, how would you suggest broadcasting the dirt?
Do you have an implement of any kind? Do you have a tractor or anything? They have those broadcast spreaders, little red ones that go on the back. Yep, you can you probably wouldn't want to buy 25-pound bags and do it that way. You can get a tote of this stuff. You only put like 200 to 300 pounds the acre depending on which product. So you can just get the bulk density. It has a chart, and we can help you with this. You could call us up, set it, and then just spread it on your field that way. So that's the easiest way. Any other? Yeah.
You know how your minerals compare to azomite for gardens?
Azomite. Okay. So azomite's down the road from us. I do not spend a lot of times looking at their products. There's also a natural good product. Ours, there won't have the EC, which is the electrical conductivity that ours has, or the CEC. I don't know a lot about their products. Like I said, they're down the road from us. It's probably a great product. Ours is just going to have some more diversity than theirs will. That was a great question. Any other good questions? Could you say it one more time? Yeah. Oh, okay. So if your animals are nutrient rich, will that make so their milk and their meat are nutrient rich? The answer is yes. okay? The healthier your animal is, the more nutrient rich it'll be, the more nutrient dense your food will be. Same with your plants. You know, I talked about feed quality and the values that is. Just eating a tomato grown in the garden doesn't always mean it's good for us. We should be trying to eat the most nutrient dense tomatoes. And so the plant quality should be really important, not just how many tomatoes we get, something like that. Great question.
I was just curious, do you use Redmond clay?
Like me personally? Yeah.
How much do you use?
I can't tell you that. Teaspoons are great, but yeah. You not need a lot. Yeah.
Okay. I said you're trying to decide what we want to do as far as the pasture goes.
Yeah.
Right now, we only have one pasture animal. So we want to get back to where we were last year, which we had a lot of everything. You know what I mean? But is it better for them to go ahead and put the lime out, even if we decide we don't want to grow the lavender, and then with the grass, would that make the grass better?
Yeah, it'll make your pH more balanced, which is always beneficial. Yeah, it could. It will help with yield, yes. I don't know as much about, so where I live, I have the opposite problem. My soil's too basic. So I'm not a real expert on soil acidity and all that, but it will help. If your soil's balanced, it'll help better. Yeah, it'll be better. Yes. Any other questions?
How big are your totes?
2,000 pounds.
Do we order them through you?
Through a dealer, one of our dealers. Because if we shipped it to you, the freight would just be outrageous. So you want them to get a truckload and you take a pallet off it. Yeah. So just go on redmondagriculture.com and find a dealer. And if they're not helping you, then call us and we'll make it happen. Okay. Any other good questions? These were great. No? Oh. Our booth 74, so it's right, so the Kubota tractors, you go straight past them this way. That's where our booth is. Yep, okay. Well, thank you guys.